thank y'all for being guests, but thank you.
Sure.
Alrighty. So, what advice would you give someone my age in life decision wise? What advice would you give me if I asked for advice?
Focus on school. You can't get along well in this world if you don't have a good education. Or at least focus on what it is you want to spend your life doing so you can be happy.
Know your partner.
Gotcha.
Spend time to. And we went together how long before we got
4.
married? 4 years. Now, not everybody has to do that. But I think it helped us really get to know each other. We didn't have any secrets when we got married.
We couldn't get married when we first met because we were only 16. That's a little young to get married.
My next question is, what do you hope people around you remember you about?
I hope people remember when I'm gone that I loved life. I tried to live it to the fullest, and I tried to do good things. I tried to help people. I tried to encourage people, and that I was a decent human being.
That's a good answer. Yes, I would want people to remember that I loved them, that I cared about them, that family was important to me, that I was honest, sincere.
My last question is, do you have any funny moments in your life that you would like to share? Anything that's happened?
That one was sick.
How would you describe your neighborhood's community when you were younger? You're good.
I lived right in the middle of 3 schools, so I never took a bus to school. Kids did. I had one friend especially that I was close to. Her name was Jill. And she moved in, she was in a church. Dad was a preacher, and there was a church just around the corner from us. And so we would cross over our neighbor's yard and run back and forth. And I remember when I first found her and I came running in the house with my friend Jill, and I said, "Mom, look what I found! I found Jill!" And we were just inseparable. She was a couple of years younger. But we all played outside at night until it got dark. And then we went in. We played tetherball, and one neighbor had a really big swing set. We all just got together and played as a community. So that was fun. And we all kind of looked after, took care of each other. And I don't remember that anybody else had any more than I had as far as toys or wealth. But I remember that I never had a Barbie doll. And I know that, I guess now I'm hearing that they were around, but my mother didn't think it would be appropriate for me to have a Barbie doll.
Wow. Both academically and socially, as a child, if you can remember.
School. I really enjoyed school. I pretty much got along with everybody. I never got in a fight, or I don't have any real negative memories. But I was in school for a long time. I had a drive to go as far as I can and learn as much as I can. I got interested in science at an early age, and my folks encouraged that. I don't think I would change too much if I had to do it over again. I met Donna in high school, so that was certainly positive. And I enjoyed my years in college, and I enjoyed our years together building our home, and it was great.
Family was always really important in our family. My mom was very close to her brothers and sisters, and she had 6 total kids in her family, siblings. So often we had family gatherings at Christmas or Thanksgiving, Easter, with both sides of the family together. But I had lots of cousins. I had 15 cousins on my mom's side. My dad had 2 brothers and a sister, and they were pretty close too. So I had lots of cousins, and we always had big family gatherings. So mostly I remember family being together. That's kind of what my life was like growing up, just family.
That's a good response. My third question is, you kind of described it already. How would you describe your community when you were younger, or neighborhood?
Community now, or
When you were younger.
Community?
Neighborhood, where you live.
My father, when we first came to the United States, knew how to weld, so he became a welder. But he wanted to go in business for himself, and he was always interested in animals, so he started raising mink. And this was, of course, to produce mink coats. So I grew up on a mink farm, which I don't know how long my dad did that, 40 years?
At least.
And he was very successful, but it really tied you down. This was in a rural part of Washington State, and we were really the only farmers, but it was generally very positive. I don't remember anything really bad about the community. It wasn't a tightly knit community. Everybody kind of did their own thing, but it was a nice environment. There was a lake where I did a lot of fishing, and I had a really good childhood. Very happy.
I ran into a car one day. I don't know how old I was at the time, but I wasn't very old. And it was an old car back in the 50s, so I was crossing the street to go visit my neighbor who was building their house, and they started the saw up. And it scared me. Instead of turning around and looking before I crossed the street, so you could step up to get into the car. I was not hurt, I was fine. They took me in and had some x-rays or something done. But I think the older people in the car, they were not so good. Scared the daylights out of them.
I'm glad you're good.
Scared the daylights out of my mom and dad, but I did do that.
So my next question is, what was your family like growing up? Like your parents, siblings, other relationships in your early life, like childhood and adolescence?
Repeat that.
So how was your family like growing up? Like your parents, your siblings, relationships as childhood or early adolescence?
I didn't have any siblings. I was an only child. And growing up was interesting in that we came to America from Germany in 1953. I was 5 years old. My folks had left me with my dad's mother, my grandmother, and my mom and dad escaped over into West Germany. Now, at that time, that was illegal, and you could get shot trying to do that because there was not a wall, but there was minefields and fences. And my dad crossed over by himself. A lot of the farmers lived in one part of Germany and had their farms or fields in another part. So they went back and forth across the border every day. And my mom had a boyfriend with a motorcycle, an old boyfriend, and he took her across, just zoom. And they stayed in West Germany, saved money for a year, and then they got legal permission to go to East Germany and get me. We were on a Greyhound bus which took us to Seattle, Washington, all across the United States, because we had an aunt and uncle there who would sponsor our immigration. So here I am, don't speak a word of English. I started school not speaking any English. I learned all my English in school. My folks went to citizenship school, learned the language and all the laws and everything, and became citizens. So the only family I had in the United States were the aunt and uncle that sponsored us. So all my other relatives were in Germany.
We have had a lot of funny moments.
Yeah, gosh.
My next question is based off of how y'all are feeling now. Y'all, I consider the older generation, that's what I call older people. So, how's your physical health changed over time compared to when you were, say, college to now?
Physical. I've gotten older. I think I still feel all right, except I get tired a lot easier. I don't have as much energy. I'm older. I think I'm aging, and my physical body is reflecting that. So I'm not upset about it or mad. I accept it as just being a normal thing. I try to work outside as much as I can. I try to do as much physical work as I can to stay somewhat in shape. And if I find that doesn't work, then I might end up doing what Donna's doing now. A good outlook. So physically I'm not as strong, but I think I'm still mentally and spiritually strong.
My physical health has changed a lot over the years. As I was growing up, I was quite heavy and overweight. In 1991, though, things changed for me. I got sick with arthritis, and I've suffered with arthritis since. It's been quite severe. So I've had several surgeries for that. One shoulder is replaced. My hands are quite disabled. So I am learning how to live with pain. I did lose some weight, and I knew I had to lose it or I wouldn't be able to walk anymore. I'm still walking, and I'm still grateful for every moment I have. But life has changed for me a great deal.
My next question is, how would you say you take care of your health now compared to when you were younger?
I think I pay more attention now because back then I didn't really have a need to. I feel like we certainly go to the doctor a lot more than we used to. So I think the doctor's watching over us more closely. I have a pacemaker and blood pressure issues, again, typically age-related. But I'm more mindful and watching things more closely than I used to.
Diabetic.
I always test borderline diabetic, except for the A1C is always good. So I watch my diet, but I'm not closely monitoring blood sugar like I used to. But I guess technically I'm still stage 2 diabetes.
Would you repeat the question, please? I don't think when I was younger I took very good care of my health. I didn't always eat the right foods, and I was much heavier then. But now I realize that if I'm going to be able to have activity, I have to take off the weight and keep it off. So I'm monitoring that much closer. I am also trying to exercise and maintain my strength. I find that I am losing strength and balance. That's helping me with my balance. And I'm also doing water aerobics, trying to make myself stronger. And so I am eating better and trying to take better care of my health now.
How do I feel about getting older? I know it's inevitable, but I'm not looking forward to it. I enjoy life, I enjoy living, and I wish I didn't have to get older, but there's nothing you can do about it, so you have to accept it and do the best you can. I've always cherished life. I can't ever see myself ending my life. I think life is too precious, too valuable. I think we have an obligation to fight for every minute, and that's what I plan to do.
I feel like Ingo, not looking forward to getting older, but I know it's inevitable. I want to focus more on my spiritual, on my family life. I think it's important to love one another and to show that love, and that's what I intend to do. And I want to be grateful for every minute that I have of every day and of every life that I can touch.
What was school like for you, academically and socially? You're good to go.
School, to me, I didn't really excel at anything. When I look back now, I wish I had given it more effort. But socially, I got along with people in grade school or elementary school. I was held back a year in school. My whole class was, because not academically, but the schools were being built. And so the elementary school was very old and rickety, but the middle school was being built, and we had to wait for it to be built before we could go. So we had 6th and 7th grade in the elementary school just because it wasn't ready for us. It's a middle school, and then we went to the high school. It was all very new. So I think middle school and high school were harder for me just because I had some friends, but I didn't have a lot of really good friends. And my mom was a little concerned when I started talking about Ingo. She just really wasn't sure on that name. But I brought him home anyway. And it's odd that she would say that. Ingo's name is a little different because her family is Norwegian and from Norway. And so we had a lot of unusual names on our side of the family. We had a lot of Norwegian names. So I had an uncle whose name was just odd, Ogi. And so we had a lot of different names in our family, but she was a little skeptical when I brought home Ingo. But we met when we were 16 and we're still here.
My next question is, what were your responsibilities as a child? Chores, jobs, expectations?
I had a lot of responsibilities around the house when I was growing up, particularly with my dad's mink farm. I did a lot of the watering of the mink or the feeding of the mink. So I had some very well-defined chores. And when I got older, I got paid. My dad paid me, so it became a job, and I learned some things about earning money and managing money. So my folks were not really strict. They were firm. They were fair. I think my childhood is very positive. I had good friends in the neighborhood, and I think I turned out all right.
I know you mentioned that in an earlier question that you said that your parents kind of influenced you in the science route.
My mom was the first woman radio repair person in Germany. That was generally a male occupation. And she was the first woman to become certified for repairing radios back then. Radios certainly weren't complicated like they are now, but so she kind of had her feet in the, she was science oriented. I also have a great grandfather who was a medical doctor. And so there's kind of a family history of science. And I think that played a role. But I always got good encouragement from my folks.
Are you involved in any communities? Are you religious or any social groups?
I would say not too many social groups, but we do go to church. We're involved in our church.
Next question is, what are some regrets or things you wish you did?
Things I should have done differently. I wish I had learned more about computer when I was in school. In fact, I wish I would have had that as kind of a second major or a minor. I ended up with a math minor, but I wish I would learn more about computers because I think it would have prepared me better for life today. But other than that, I don't really have any regrets.
I think I regret that I didn't try harder in school.
Looking back at your life, what are you most proud of in life?
I sure picked a good wife. I think that's probably been my greatest accomplishment.
I'll be like you.
I think the same thing. You can make a lot of mistakes in your life as you grow up and grow older, but you got to pick a good partner.
Absolutely.
That's really high on the list.
If you can go back to any age, what age would it be and why?
Back to the age.
Or maybe a span of 8 years, like 21 to 25 years. Like, no?
I don't know that I have an answer for that.
No, because every span of years had its own unique challenges and rewards and problems.
I think I'd like to go back to our honeymoon and spending time on the beach in Hawaii. That was fun.
That was a big deal for us because we've never done anything that big or
We
that
had
bold.
I traveled some, but I don't think Ego had. It was a big deal. We were just learning back then, and the trip that we had paid for was all inclusive, so everything was paid for.
Everything was free.
And so when we got the time when we were supposed to check out, Ingo was reading the small print and it says you have to pay tax direct. He says, "What does that mean?" I said, "I don't know. Everything's paid for." And we'd spent all of our money and we forgot our money. We left the money at home that we were going to take with us. All the money that Daddy was holding on to during the wedding ceremony. And of course, I forgot to get the money from him, so we went off without the cash that we thought we were going to have. And we didn't have $10 when we came home. We were really...
We're lucky
We had to pay
we
tax.
didn't end up washing dishes or something.
And we realized that pay tax direct was expensive.
So this is going to be a two-part question, and this one also says, what's your current living situation, and how do you usually spend your time now? Hobbies, work, or have a routine?
I am very grateful for what we have. We have a home, we have a roof over our head, we're comfortable, we can do pretty much what we want to do. We can't travel the world, of course, but I think we're doing, I'm grateful for what we have.
Did I hear the question?
So it was, what's your current living situation, And how do you usually spend your time now? It's older than me.
And we built the house and then added on the deck. So this was kind of a house in progress over the years. And it's pretty much finished now. I think we're where we want it to be. And we really appreciate the place because it's big enough and rural enough. We like being near the river and having neighbors not too close. So we're pretty happy here. And what was the second part of the question?
What do you usually do to spend your time?
I like to work outside around the house. There's always things to do. We like to watch TV together at night, relax, and I have my hobbies that I like to spend some time on. So I won't go into too much detail there.
We're good. Are there any important friendships or social connections? Are there any friendships or social connections to you at this stage in life right now?
I think each other. We usually don't go out much. We just stay home. We're happy to be here, and
I think we're best friends.
we have a couple of friends. I have a lot of contacts on the phone that I try to keep in touch with every month. But it's kind of just family. Family's the most
Mostly
important to us.
family and a couple of close friends, and certainly each other.
First question. I'm going to be asking y'all a series of questions, and I would like to hear y'all's stories on it. My first question, dating back to your early life, where were y'all born?
I was born in Großvorrat, Germany, in 1948. You want me to elaborate on that, or?
The next question after that is, what was your childhood environment like? So
I was born in Everett, Washington State, on June 17th, 1948.
and the next question is, what was your childhood environment?
To be honest, I don't remember that much. This was right after World War II. I think we were poor, and I think my folks wanted to come to America because there were limited opportunities in Germany.
You were in East Germany.
At the time, I was in East Germany, the communist-dominated part of Germany, and leaving there is a story in itself.
As much as I can remember, I felt very loved and cared for, and I never felt I was the oldest girl. My brother didn't arrive until I was 7. So, but I felt like I had everything I wanted and everything we needed. When I look back now as an adult, I see how my parents were pretty poor. They didn't make me feel like we didn't have much. I developed a close relationship to my grandparents. I was there a lot, and those are kind of my first memories. We did a lot of camping, and that's it. A few years back, 2019, we were on a trip to Yellowstone, and we got on these, and I went over the cliff in that ATV, and I went down 100 feet maybe. There was a lake down below, Siding Lake, and I stopped before the lake, and my poor ATV, it was pretty messed up, but it didn't make it to the lake either. They brought in some people to help get me out of this predicament, and I got quite silly because they started an IV in me and started pumping dope into me. And so I got very concerned because I couldn't find my phone. Now, for some reason, my phone seemed more important than getting up off of the cliff and back up on the road. So I made a lot of references to my phone. Sure, it was all the drugs in me, but they were trying to figure out how to get me up off this cliff, which was really very steep. And they did rope me up. They tied ropes onto me and to them, and somehow I prayed before everybody could go up. I did some funny things, I think, because I was on all those drugs. So in the ambulance, they were going to cut my jeans off, and I got real upset about that. You're not taking my jeans. Just reached up and pulled those pants off of me so fast, I didn't even know that they came off. And then when I got to the hospital, they said, so I was put on the helicopter, and I was not very happy because I couldn't see. So I was complaining on this helicopter ride that I couldn't see. And so they had to crank me up, gurney, whatever that was I was on, And it pushed me up so I could see out the helicopter. And I know that they just all were thinking I was the funniest person ever, because here I am on a helicopter ride and I want to see. I didn't want to be sick. I wanted to see whether or not I can see out of the helicopter.
So it's gonna be all we get into that, incorporating that. My first question is, did you pursue college or any job training, and why or why not?
I went to college because I wanted to be a chemist, and I wanted to go as far as I could. So I went to University of Washington for 4 years and got my bachelor's, and then I went to Oregon State University for PhD, and I finished that in '70s. And then Don and I moved to Hagerstown, and we've been here ever since.
I was always not much more than an average student. As I said before, I wish I had applied myself a little more. I'm sure I could have done better. But I was just a kid, and when it came time to graduate from high school, I enrolled in a junior college type in Everett. But then a opportunity was opened up through our school, and we could be trained, not paid, but trained for free with the certainty of a job if we passed it. And so I went into this training, and it was for Boeing Aircraft Company, and I became a riveter. I learned how to rivet. I learned a lot about how to get bad rivets out. The bad rivets are when you get a smile in a rivet and you have to take it out. And I got a lot of smiles in my rivets when I was riveting. I learned how to take them out and put them back in again. So I became a riveter. I put in my application, and the personnel looked at me, and the guy said, "I just don't think riveting is something for you." He says, "You're just too little, and I don't think you should be a riveter." And so he put me into secretarial work, and that's how I got into administrative work. My first job, I got $89 a week. And man, I was really rolling in the money then. So I worked for $89 a week for several years at Boeing Aircraft Company. And then they had a big cutback, and I was laid off. Boeing did that often. And one of the guys that I worked for, an older guy, said, "My wife works at Virginia Mason Medical Center and Virginia Mason Hospital. And she has a job there if you want to go apply." So that's when I got in the medical field, because then I applied with her and I learned medical terminology and how to take dictation, and that's where I really found my calling, because I watched a hysterectomy, I watched a baby being born, I watched surgery on nerves in the hand. So I did a lot of observation, had a lot of things that they let me learn from. It just seemed like it evolved.
It evolved. I was very shy. I'm still shy. And, but that was one of my characteristics, was the shyness. But I always felt pretty relaxed around Donna. I think, there was a mutual attraction, and I think we've always felt that we were kind of made for each other. So
we dated through high school. After high school, he went to Bellingham to college, which was an hour or so away, maybe 2.
Western Washington State College.
Yeah, Western Washington State College. And I was working while he was in college, and I brought my $89 home every week. And I put all of that in my savings account. And I really felt rich, because when we got married, I had like a couple $1,000s in there.
We got married in 1968.
So he came, and he changed college from Western Washington in Bellingham to Seattle. And we moved to Seattle.
University of Washington.
Yeah, and then 2 years after that, we moved to Oregon, and by then we were married. And
I'd been in the Army. Army Reserve. So,
Well, my next question is, how has your view of relationships / marriage changed over y'all's relationship over time?
well, I think it's gotten stronger.
Yeah.
You know, when you have kids and build a house, build a home.
I think love changes over the years. You just, our doctor to come over and see what was wrong with my brother. So that was pretty traumatic for me, watching my brother go through that. I don't really remember a whole lot. I should probably have stayed with my mother and let the help come to us, but I was really wanting to get help for him, and I was really scared. But I did get back to my mom and my brother, and there was help there. But after that, I was very insecure about the possibility of my brother losing him, because he did have a problem. We couldn't find out what it was. Whatever it is, he grew out of it, and he's fine. But that was a challenge for me.
Well, I don't know if I want to talk about this or not, but
You don't have to. You don't have to.
there. When I was growing up, I was heavy into chemistry, and I had my own lab in my bedroom, my own chemistry lab,
In the bedroom. Okay.
and
His-
I was
His folks lived in a trailer,
Oh.
and he was in a little extra building outside of the trailer.
yeah,
Okay.
yeah,
Okay.
which was my bedroom and lab,
Okay.
and of course I was into explosives.
Oh.
Okay.
But my final question is, what was your most difficult or challenging memory growing up that you can remember?
Most difficult growing up.
Thing that was expected of me. And as I got older, like Ingo, I got an allowance for what I did. But I did have my expectations as a kid, and I also followed my mom around a lot. And so I watched as we had a pretty big piece of ground, and we had strawberries and raspberries and plums and pears and trees with cherries on them, and so we picked all of that fruit, and I watched her can it, and some of it I picked and myself, and I remember shelling peas. We had peas, and they had to be shelled, and so I was. I don't know that it was expected of me, but I always pitched in. Now, when my brother was born, I was 7, and so when or 6, almost 7, I was 6 and 3/4, I guess. So when he came along and it was time to bring him home from the hospital, my dad had explained to me that it was important for me to help my mother because she had a new baby here. And so as soon as she brought the baby in, my brother and Ron, I grabbed the broom and I started sweeping the kitchen floor. I had to live that one down.
Yeah.
As my mom, as we grew older as kids and my mom went to work, it was kind of my idea that I needed to cook dinner. She always had dinner home ready when my dad came home at 4:15, and we didn't have dinner because my mom wasn't home. So my mom got home a little bit after 5, and So I kind of took it into my own.
Your working life.
Um, well, I guess, I've always wanted to go as far as I could go. And I think I advanced as far as I could advance in my job. It was the only job I ever had. I mean, I only worked for one company for the entire,
Over 30 years.
30 some years.
You have several patents.
A dozen patents, yeah. So I certainly got recognition from what I did. I was one of the few that never got laid off.
You're the best.
So I must have done something right. But I enjoyed my job. I was proud of what I did. I think I made a difference. So that's gratifying.
I was fortunate enough to always end up with a pretty good job. I loved what I did. I loved working for the doctors I worked for. Well, one wasn't too great, but I worked, first I worked for a neurologist, a neurosurgeon, excuse me, and I loved that. I ran the whole office. I was the only one in there. And that's where I really learned how to manage office work. Then I went from Oregon, where I worked for Dr. Tsai, to here. When I started working, I first started working for another doctor. Again, I ran his office. I was I started at the bottom, but I became the manager of the office. And I loved that, but I didn't always like the way he treated his patients. So I left there, and I went to, before that I went to James Rumsey and learned computer science, because I didn't know much about computers. I could type and I could run an office, but I didn't know computers. So then I left there and I went to work for an insurance company.